Welcome to ThNOT. We're calling it Thursday Night on Tour, so we call it ThNOT. It's, anyway. If you are new here, my name is Nick Cartell. I play Jean Valjean on the national tour of Les Miserables. And Thursday nights, I like to invite guests into the dressing room while I'm getting ready to talk about the show and talk about what they do, because I like to educate folks out there. And so tonight, we are very fortunate to have the head of our wardrobe department with us. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Katrina, and I'm the wardrobe head of Les Miserables.
Yes, and so we're going to talk all things costumes tonight, because there's some stuff I know, but there's a lot that I don't know. And so I have some questions pre-prepared, but feel free to text them in or chat, and we'll ask your questions as we go. So I'm going to start one off. Everybody's saying, hi, Katrina. I'm going to start one off. How did you get your start in this industry?
Well, I learned how to sew when I was in elementary school because I wanted some clothes for my doll that my mother wouldn't buy me.
I love that.
And then I started doing theater in high school and college, and I really enjoyed making clothes and anything that goes along with that. Hats and shoes and all of that stuff.
Did you always know that you wanted to be in costumes?
I started out doing a little bit of stage managing. I acted in a couple of things in college. I was terrible.
We did all the things in college, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I also feel like it gives us I always tell people, they're like, what advice? And I'm like, work in every aspect of this industry.
Yep.
Because it also makes it, I would say, you appreciate what everybody else is going through. Someone just asked, which I'll come back to that question. But did you go to school specifically for costuming, or is that something that you did? Or
my undergraduate degree was in theater.
Great.
So I did. I had a rounded. I took stage lighting, and I took stage movement, and I took all the classes.
Yeah. God, I hated those movement classes.
Yes.
We had to be in a black leotard at 8 a.m.
I had to do.
No, it was
awful.
Ours was, she was very much about you have to see your body and ooh.
Not at 8 a.m. in a Leo in college.
Exactly. It was crazy. So so what does a normal day look like for you as the head of our wardrobe department?
Well, we come in, all of the crew comes in an hour and a half before the show. To get everything ready. The actors are called at half hour or a little earlier if they're doing fight call that day. But if we have that hour before, it's called continuity hour, where we repair things from the night before, and we iron cravats and tricolors and steam dresses, any of the things that need to look pristine for that night's performance.
Yeah, so everything that I think is what the audience doesn't know is that everything that we wear gets pressed the night of the show. Most of it gets pressed the night of the show. So then that also, one of my other questions is then, I know that you pick up a local crew in every city. So how many local wardrobe team are working on the show at any given time?
We pick up 10 dressers and 2 laundry folks in each city to help us get this... to help get the show together. And so it's me, my assistant, and our 12 local crew every night.
That's a lot of people. And I think I've shown this on a Saturday Night on Tour, kind of the setup backstage, but it literally is just piles of clothing over chairs.
Yes. The first 40 minutes of the show, I think that a lot of the actors really just change clothes as much as they're on stage. They're back there just as often putting on new clothes.
I think, what is it, the ensemble has 20 to 25 costume changes throughout the show or something like that. It's insane. So speaking of, do you know how many costumes are actually in the show? Or a rough estimate?
Every ensemble member has 8 to 12 costumes. There are, how many? We've got 20 ensemble members. So...
And then
we've got a bunch of swings and vacation swings, and we've got some children in the show.
So, do all the costumes take up one truck?
A little more than a truck, actually.
So all of our costumes, we use 11 tractor trailers to get across the country. So a lot of those big semis, and 1.25
I would say 1.5.
1.5 of those is just costumes. If that gives you any indication, and they can't stack on top of each other, can they?
Other things are put on top of that stuff.
Okay.
Like,
but still, like
pieces of the set or props.
Yeah. My goodness. So let's see here. What experience do you feel like you need in order to have like a job like this?
A lot of people get their start lots of different ways. I happen to have a master's degree. I don't know that you need one, but
And what is your master's in?
My master's is in costume design and technology.
Amazing.
So after I did that, I worked at a bunch of regional theaters around the country. Mm-hmm. I've also done a couple of other tours. I've done summer stock. You can get this kind of experience doing a lot of those other things. I would say that my grad degree was useful, but not imperative.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Necessarily. Okay. And I know that there's a lot of people that also like, they go to school, they get a business degree, and they're like, I want to go and do this. And if they get the experience,
you can become a member of the local IATSE crew in your city, and a lot of them offer introductory classes on how to do wardrobe, and that's a really good way to get started. And then you can
really
get
cool.
in fact here the locals in Toronto put on a class on Monday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, taught anybody who wanted to maybe join the local how to prep the clothes, how to set things out, how to do some basic sewing things. If you're inexperienced, it's a good idea. And as a wardrobe touring head, I really appreciate when they take that time.
Because it does make a difference. Curious how the approval process works when changes are made to costume. Who decides that, as far as like costumes and things like that?
If it's just something that is worn out and I need a copy of it, I can I email my design team. Sometimes I can just order it online. A lot of our things are things that we can order and then alter, and I do a lot of Etsy shopping sometimes if I need some new bloomers. But I have a design team that I work with to do major changes, and they come out. Our designer comes out once or twice a year, and my associate comes out every 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. Someone asked, like, what is my favorite costume to wear in the show? I love my mayor costume.
That's great.
That is my favorite costume that I get to wear in the show every single night. I love the coat. I love the whole look. What is your favorite costume in the show?
My favorite costume is the purple dress that Cosette wears in the second act. For so little time.
So little time.
Oh,
it is only on
beautiful.
stage. And listen, we'll do a tour of the costumes one night, because there is like this intricate detail right here on the
really
shoulder.
pretty hand smocking.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Someone asked, do you also handle the wigs? And no, we have a whole other department that handles the wigs. And I know sometimes regionally, sometimes costumes will also sometimes work with wigs.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of both, but I'm certainly much more comfortable with the costumes.
Yes. Someone asked, have you ever lost a costume?
Unfortunately, yes.
It happens.
It happens, and
just like you lose a sock in the dryer, it's gonna happen eventually. But luckily, it does not happen that often.
It does not happen very often. We have checks and balances. My assistant and I both check each dressing room on our way out of a city. We're really careful. But
Yes.
even if you're really careful, bad things happen.
And I have to say, like, working, I've been doing this show a long time. We both have been doing this show a very long time, and in this career a long time. And, it's one of those things where it is to see them work is outstanding, because it's like you two read each other's minds.
Oh my
like
goodness.
when the other one is like going
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Someone asked, how is laundry handled? Or are you in charge of laundry? Like, how does that work?
I am in charge of laundry. Like I said, we hire 2 locals to prep everything. They wash all the laundry from from that night's performance, the night of, and then they come in the next day to get it all folded, get it all ironed, and make sure that we're ready for the next show as well.
And then we get our laundry in a bag like this. So any personal effects that we wear, so like socks, undershirts, underwear, mic belts. Come on in. Hello, Michael. We're live. We're talking all things costume tonight. they all come in a bag like this, and they all have our name on it and our number here. And this is like our bag of personals for the day. And then at the end of the show, everybody puts it back in the bag and they throw it in the laundry, and then that's how it's like a fresh set.
Yep.
Yeah. Is it? And we have how many sets of those? Like
There's
in the bag?
3 sets of
Three
those.
sets.
Yeah.
3 sets of those. So that's fantastic. So who has
later.
bag number 24601? Nobody.
Nobody.
What is the hardest clothing to wash, and how do you make sure to make sure no damage happens during the laundry?
Well, a lot of things get dry cleaned. And to be honest, I try to get things aired out a lot more than anytime you launder something, damage happens to
It's
it.
gonna break
which
it
is
down.
why everybody wears their undergarments under most things. If you have those undergarments under it, you can wash those every show.
Correct.
But I don't want to wash this shirt too often because of all of this distressing. It's likely to get torn up in a washing machine. So when it
Right.
does need to get washed, we hand wash it. We're really careful with it. But it doesn't get washed every show or even every week.
So I have a question, and this is something that I've always wondered, so I'm learning this with all of you out there. How does dry cleaning work in 1 week sits? How does that happen?
So in a 1 week sit, I bag it all up. I put it in a gondola. I tell one of our crew people who's going to be there on Monday while I'm traveling with the show what gondola it's in. Ask them to give it to the dry cleaner who I contacted from the previous city. The dry cleaner comes and picks it up and drops it off on Tuesday.
Wow.
But I try really hard to only do dry cleaning in a city that has a robust theater scene.
There you go.
Otherwise, I shrink things. Otherwise, they'll shrink it. They'll do.
They don't know
not,
how to handle.
It's not the
these
sort of
costumes, yeah.
costumes, or it's not the sort of clothing that normal people have. So
Yeah.
they don't know how to clean it.
Correct. We've gotten things back and we're like, oh my god, did I really gain that much weight? And they're like, no, we have to drink dry clean. I was like, got it. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody that wants to go into this as a career?
Start out with your local IATSE crew. Get involved with your local community theater. They're always looking for people to volunteer and do that sort of thing. There are avenues in both of those ways for you to get started.
Yeah, it's always. So I know that like a couple times we've had a few like students that'll shadow, right? And so
Yeah.
that's also a way that if you can always contact a tour and just be like, hey, I'm a student, I really want to learn.
Yeah.
Is there any way that I can come and just shadow 15? Is there any way that we can just shadow the wardrobe head for a night? I feel like that's a way that you can learn about so much about what goes into it and just kind of be a fly on the wall. I think that it's so interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you learn certainly by watching.
Yes.
And I would be open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked about quick changes in the show. So, yes, there are a lot of quick changes that
Yeah.
happen in the show, especially in like the first, what we call the prologue, so like the first 10 minutes of the show. And so it's a lot of the ensemble, they're underdressing. Like, a lot of the men are completely underdressed underneath.
Yeah.
They're prisoners at the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah.
Where a lot of them are wearing 1 to 2 costumes underneath. And then it's just a flurry of snaps and buttons. And how hard is it, especially with like, because I've seen you guys on like the first night in a new city.
Yeah.
Teaching locals how to do that. Someone asked us, do you help with quick changes?
I do, but mostly I am there to observe and teach. I'll hand off a hat, but we have this partnership with our local crew. We ask them to come and do our show for them, and in return, I'm there to teach them how to do it.
Right. They were saying that the quick change into the wedding is always
Yes.
incredible.
Yes.
And that is because
that
Marius...
requires the Cosette needs 4 people to help her do that change, and then Marius has his dresser get him into it. But he's wearing a lot of things under that big black coat.
He is wearing a lot of things, and so he's got that whole number where he's wearing like a scarf. And there have been times, especially if it's warm out, where you come out. Now we also are in big wool coats, and sometimes the heat is on in the theater, so you just see us sweating, and we're like supposed to be cold. But he's and as soon as it's always, the audience can never hear it, and I'm very thankful for that. But there are times where all of a sudden you'll hear like he'll run off stage, and then it's like running to get into place. But what is the heaviest costume in the show? Is it the purple?
Madam T's dress. Madam T's costume.
I think it's
very
Madam T's.
heavy.
It's
but some of the men's wool coats.
my mayor coat is
The mayor coat is very
heavy
heavy. Javert's coats, those
Yeah,
big
oh
black
God,
coats,
yes.
are very heavy.
and we're fighting in those.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah. What is the most expensive costume in the show?
The Madam T purple dress.
Yep.
Yep, hands down.
It's incredible. It just Yes.
She's our cupcake for the show.
It's very fun, and every time she comes out, it's also one of those like, it's just a scene stealer. You know what I mean? And it deserves that moment in the show to have that.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful to see that moment because it is it's so beautiful. That dress is gorgeous.
I love it.
But it's also absurd, but it's also perfect for fitting for Madame Thenardier and for that scene. So so what do you think is one of the hardest parts of your job?
Definitely teaching new people every week. This job isn't necessary. It's about people way more than it's about clothes. I'm not always feeling it that day, and you meet a lot of different kinds of people, a lot of different personalities, and it's my job to make sure that the show happens no matter who walks in the door.
That's right.
Yeah.
And she's excellent at it. She's very,
Thank
very
you.
good at it, of
Thank
course.
you very much.
Well, I think that's going to be it because we both have to go do our jobs now.
Yep.
Or continue to do our jobs.
Yes.
She's already been doing her job all day long. But thank you so much
You're
for
welcome. Thanks for
joining me
having me.
tonight. And thank you everybody out there that tuned in and answered questions. And listen, if you didn't have your question answered, because when it's horizontal like this, they pop up, but then they immediately go away. So I've been trying to kind of catch them. But if I didn't, send me a note because tomorrow I am taking over the Mervish Instagram.
Okay.
I'm taking over the Mervish Instagram full day. So be sure to follow Mervish and follow me tomorrow because I'm going to take over the Mervish Instagram. If you have any other questions, we'll pop up the question box. You can ask them there, and I will make sure that Katrina gets to answer them. And also be sure to tune into ThNOT on Saturday night with Haley and I. That's on my Instagram live. There's a lot that goes on.
I see that.
There's a lot
It's
that
busy
goes
in
on.
here.
It's very busy in here. And also tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for a very special announcement. Something's coming. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you next week when we are going to be talking to our music director, Will Curry. So be sure to have all of your questions about the music department and the orchestra and all of that. He's going to answer all those next week. But thank you again. Thank you so much, Katrina. We will see you all. Bye.